I'm now going to call on Sawsan Salih. Sawsan, as she pointed out to us when we were preparing her bio for this panel, has gone from being an immigrant herself to actually helping immigrant families. She has volunteered for ACT for a number of years, helping to translate for Arabic-speaking families, immigrants and refugees. Sawsan is originally from Jordan. Currently, Sawsan is working as a special education assistant in North Vancouver, and she has a young adult daughter with autism.
Thank you. And I would like to thank Deborah for having me here, and I have the privilege to be part of this conference. A little introduction about myself. You already said it there, but I could add to it. A couple of years ago, Deborah called me to come to the office and translate to some Arabic families with children on the autism spectrum, their needs, and also to some families who immigrated to Canada and some who were refugees. And last fall, a sponsored group live in the North Shore asked me if I could translate for a Syrian refugee family coming to Vancouver. It was so nice to see the community all coming together in helping this family. I'm also a mother of 4. I have one son who's 30 years old and 3 daughters, and my youngest daughter has autism. I'm also an educational assistant. I've been working over a decade in the North Shore School District, and the reason why I chose this career is because I want to advocate for my daughter's needs. When she was a young child, I didn't feel that she received the support she needed, so I thought, okay, I'm gonna go there and to understand the system too, and also to help other families to get what my daughter didn't get. This is how I felt, and also to understand autism because I'm still learning about it. And I found it really difficult. The most difficult thing is when I meet those parents, they had going through different emotions as they struggle. The guilt they feel is the most difficult thing, I find it, because they feel that we didn't give enough to our kids. Why didn't they progress? Why didn't they do well? They always have this feeling. And I often tell them it's having a child with autism is just like being in the roller coaster. And just you have to stay positive and keep positive. It's a journey, and they will get somewhere. And I'm talking about people who live here, they didn't come from different cultures. They know the system really well. They know how to navigate. They speak the language. It's just I can't, when I think about kids, families who immigrated to Canada, I find it really difficult to imagine how are they gonna survive or live reasonable life when having children with autism or any other disabilities. Most of the families I met are single mothers. They either lost their husbands in a war or they don't even know if they really still live. And they never worked. Most of them have never worked and has no education. Some of them suffer of depression, trauma, and other psychological issues because they either lost, as I said, they lost their husbands or they still have family members back home. And we live in a small world like now. Like everybody has their cell phone, they still communicate with them, and all they hear is just negative and negative and negative situations they're living in, and that really also affect them. Recently, I talked to 2 parents who I met at ACT. One of them has a child, 11 years son with autism, and she just told me she had a nervous breakdown because she has to find a job, and she doesn't know how to cope herself. Like she really mentally can't do it because she keeps hearing news about her family back home, and it's really difficult for her. She needs to focus on her son. Gladly that Deborah was able to help her find the right support, and she's working on it. Another family who has a mother who has PhD in agriculture told me by end of June she's not gonna continue with having consultant for her daughter because she doesn't have enough money to cover the expenses. She only can bring BIs. And she is looking for a job and want to work anything, just to help continuing her support. And she said, it's really difficult for me to find jobs right now, and I don't even, every time I try to go to school and they said it will take me 5 years to be able to get a job or get what she learned. That she came from Sudan, actually, this lady. Another single mother. No, I mean, like, there are like few more refugee families I just met in the past 2 weeks. They are still live in motels. I find that difficult. They can't put their kids in schools until they find a place to live in first, before they get any assistance or any assistance. I can go on with those stories. But I thought I would like to talk about my own experience with my son when I came to Vancouver 30 years ago. And I was pregnant when I came during Expo Time 1986 with my husband, with my Iraqi-Canadian husband, and 13 months old son. We decided to live in Canada, and we bought a house in the North Shore, and we still live there. And I only spoke few words of English when I came, I remember. And I learned English while working with my son, watching TV programs and reading Arabic books, English books, I mean. By the time my son turned 2.5 years old, he didn't talk, so we decided to put him in a neighborhood preschool. And we told the teacher there that our son didn't speak. So she thought he didn't speak English only. So a few weeks later, she called us and she said, how do you communicate with him? And we said, he doesn't speak, not even Arabic, nothing. And that's when she flagged him, and she advised us to put him in a place called playcare. It was a neighborhood preschool. And we also took him to our family doctor, and he referred him to Sunny Hill. And at that time, I remember they said to me, speak only one language with him, and he will talk. Which I regret. But believe it or not, he talked when he was 4. So I was happy he talked, and this is how I learned English. And I just want to talk about playcare. This is why I'm here, actually. I find this program is the best thing happened to us, and to my son, mostly. It was, kids used to go there 4 days a week, and they learned all the skills they needed to learn before entering kindergarten. And it was individualized for each student. It targeted to meet communication, socialization, and academic skills. There was a speech path also working closely with students and with the staff and the parents. And we actually were televised on CBC, I remember that day. I still have the VHS. And parents were asked to participate in the program. There used to be a booth in the daycare, in the preschool, where we used to watch the kids, and the kids don't see us. So it was like nice to see the parents getting together and learning. We take skills and we use it at home too. And we even took parenting courses to help our kids. Also, it's the nice thing about playcare. They stayed with the kids. They transferred the kids to a normal preschool, regular preschool, 3 months before they enter kindergarten. And then in kindergarten, they still continue to support them, which is really nice. And like my son really was lucky, I feel, and I still say this day, why didn't we have this, by the time my daughter was born, we found out she had autism. But unfortunately, I did ask about it, and she did go to the school. 6 months later, they closed the program, and they never replaced it. And this is where our journey started. And I think few years later, this is when I met Deborah Pugh, and I think she told you the story. I don't need to say it. My final thought is, I feel in the past was essentially no awareness or knowledge on autism, but there was more support for educators, parents, and medical professionals for families with children with special needs. Whereas now, there are awareness of autism, but there is not enough support. Now families have to advocate for their own children. I don't see this happening with marginalized families. And as said earlier, we need to be held, I echo that, we need to be I felt Playcare really held my hand when I was supporting when my son was growing up. And thank you.